Welcome to Tales on the Towpath, the podcast where every mile tells a story.
We're two runners who spend a lot of time out here on the C&O Canal towpath, talking about training, racing, and everything that happens between the miles.
From early morning runs to the stories that keep us moving.
This is where endurance meets inspiration, one step, one tail at a time.
So lace up and join us on the path, because every trail has a story, and this one's ours.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Adam Lowe.
And I'm Chris Earl.
And our listeners may have noticed that silence there. We do not have Katie Lowe with us, as we are on a family vacation at the beach right now in North Carolina as we're recording this. So she took the kids over to the beach and I stayed inside to do the podcast for a little bit. So she's taken a little bit of a hit for the team here so she can hang out with the kids at the beach, but we are still going to rock a podcast this week. So Katie, we'll miss you. We'll probably mess this up 100 times, and I'll probably need some fact checks that we'll have to correct on the next episode, but it is what it is. So we are here today with one of our good running buddies who just started running at the beginning of 2024. So it's only been about 2.5 years. And believe it or not, his first race ever was the JFK 50 miler in November of 2024. And he finished that in just over 9.5 hours. After doing JFK, he decided that wasn't long enough. So he participated and won in the More Miles Last One Standing Challenge in 2025. He ran 108 miles there to secure the victory. He's also won Fire on the Mountain 50K in November of 2025. Came back 20 days later and improved his JFK time by 2 hours and 20 minutes, running a 7:10. He's won the Buzz Sawyer Marathon in 2 hours 51 minutes. He's run 150 miles at Capitol Backyard. So without further ado, Samir, thanks for joining us this week. We are really excited to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, guys. It sounds a lot cooler when somebody else say it than when I remember it on my head.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hey, there's a lot of accomplishments there in just a short amount of time. So, kudos for you for, you know, getting your feet on the ground and running. But before we get into Samir as a runner, can you tell us a little bit about who you are away from running?
Well, away from running, first, I'm a dad. I have 3 children. Two are at the age of 7 years old. They're twins, a boy and a girl. And I have a 6-month-old baby. Away from running, I just work in the food manufacturing business. I work in a warehouse, but not much going on over there. Everything exciting happens when I clock out.
I think that's pretty much true for all of us, right?
I don't want you to get in trouble, Samir. So you are married, correct?
Correct. I'm lucky to have married the person I did, because to be running all those miles, and still have somebody back home, especially with like a good post-workout meal, and just to allow you to go out there for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours to get your long run done, that's something that you gotta value.
Yeah, so Samir, Adam touched on this a little bit already, but when he did your intro and mentioned that your first race was the JFK 50, that's a pretty big jump when you're jumping into the running world. So tell us a little bit about how you came to that decision and skipped over all those pesky little 5Ks, 10Ks and went big.
Well, when I started looking into like 5Ks, 10Ks, first JFK was like my weight loss journey. I started at the beginning of 2024 with 215 pounds. Then I trimmed my weight down to 140 some pounds, not in a very healthy way. There were some days that I was eating just a little over 1500 calories or less. So I don't recommend to do that, but I thought it was the right thing to do. Like you want to be good at running, you want to run fast, you gotta look like the front of the pack runners. But those guys been doing that for a long time, and I just wanted to see what I could do. But you make mistakes and you learn from it. So eventually I got it together, started eating enough, training enough, started feeling good again, and picked up some weight. And 5Ks are hard. Like they are hard. They hurt. They hurt for the whole time, and there's not a lot of story behind a 5K. Like from the moment the gun goes off, hurt, 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 and then you're done and you don't remember anything. I don't remember anything on my 5Ks. Like maybe if you pass somebody or somebody pass you, that's all you remember. But 50 miles sounds impressive no matter how long it takes you. It's a journey. It was something hard enough that I'll hold myself accountable every week to go out there and put in the work. There were a lot of ups and downs during that training. It was a point to where I was like not feeling it anymore. But then I already told enough people I was doing it, so I had to keep on training. And I think that the way I approached it, it was just like doing 20 miles at the beginning, 30, I built up to 50, and when I got to 50 miles on a week, I even took a picture of my Garmin that it said 50 miles, and I was exhausted on a Sunday. And that was very hard. Like getting 50 miles in a week, it's still hard, you know. That was pretty much it. And I got convinced by my neighbor. Part of it was my neighbor that he was already in the race, but he didn't run it. He had a newborn that year, and there's this running couple. I know the name of the lady. Her name is Bing Castro. She works at the hospital in the kitchen because I've seen a picture of her in the elevator when my boy Santiago was burned. And I talked to this couple at Wise Market. They were wearing like running gear, and they pretty much told me like, "Hey, we know you can do it. Go ahead and sign up." And that was on early March, so I signed up. And November, I didn't know anybody. I just got like in the middle of the pack and started moving forward.
So you ran JFK 50 that year, and like you said, you trained, I'm assuming by yourself mostly. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I didn't know anybody. That's the
Right.
main reason why. I didn't know anybody that runs.
So when you crossed the finish line at JFK 50, your first ever race, what was your thought process? Was it like, oh man, this sucked, I'm never running again? Or was it like next year I'm coming back to do better? Or what were you thinking when you crossed that finish line?
Well, I remember a lot about the race. I remember going up that steep hill, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take it easy. I'm gonna walk. I watched a few videos about like ultra running and how to approach it. So I went up and ran the first maybe half a mile, then walk up that hill. I get on the trail just like a comfortable pace. I have done a little bit of new research on nutrition, so I'm like, okay, every 5K or every 3 miles. I'm gonna eat a gel and take sips of. I think I was training with liquid IV. That's the only thing I was using to train, and it worked for me. And when we were past Gatland, there was this hiker just telling people random numbers, like you're on 180, 181, 182, and I was like 195, somewhere around there. And I was like, oh man, I'm top 200, and there's like over 1,000 people over here. And then somebody passed me. I'm like, now I'm 196. And then I pass somebody. I'm like, okay, I'm back on the game. Like I was like just trying to be like top 200 for the whole trail section. Then I made it to the switchbacks in Weaverton Cliff, and I see my brother and his wife were crewing me, and they had my shoes ready, and I didn't change my shoes over there. I was feeling good, and I just told him like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna try to do 9-minute miles over here. I should be at this point at this time, so expect me between this many hours." And I ran the first mile coming off maybe on pace, and then I was just running like 11-minute miles. My legs were shot, my body was shocked, running a half marathon trail and then just running something completely flat really caught me off guard. And then you just look around and everybody's going through it. You know, everybody's going through it. I made it to the 27-mile mark and I see my brother again, and he told me like, dude, you're beating the cutoff time by like 3 or 4 hours. Like it was like I had like a really big gap to play with, like a big window of time to where to where I was gonna finish. Like I was on pace to finish. And I was like, okay, I don't feel like giving up. My mom was there, and my brother is pretty good about telling her what not to say, because mom's instincts are like, hey, you like if they see that you're going through a rough patch, I think that they just probably don't say the best things on an ultra, but now we kind of train her out of it. I saw him again at Snyder's or Taylor's, not Taylor's Landing, and then from there it's just like a half marathon, like a little less than a half marathon. 1 mile to go, and the whole time I was struggling. Like I was doing 11-minute miles, I was passing somebody, and then somebody else would pass me. Somebody was doing run walk intervals, and when they did the run, they'll pass me. When they'll do the walk, I'll pass them. I thought it could be a good idea, but I was scared that I was not gonna be able to run after walking. The legs came back at mile 49. I saw that sign that says 1 mile because they have like the nice countdown from mile 8. And dude, I started running like a 7:30. And a 7:30 for me back then was fast. I was sprinting. Joe Jefferson was announcing. He said my full name, Harold, Samir, Baca, Ponce, first, second to last one to last name, something along those lines. He pretty much rose me when I was crossing the finish line. And you're hyped, you're excited. But it was until I was taking a shower at home where I was like, that's it, like I already did it. I'm done with this. And all this was going through my mind while I was taking a shower. And when I was done showering, I was like crip walking a little bit, like I couldn't walk right. I was sore. I told my wife, like, babe, do you think that it'll be like crazy if I tell you that I want to do it again? And then she was like, no, I don't think so. Like my legs hurt, like I can barely walk, but I had a great day. Like everything about the JFK community, from the volunteers, everybody who runs that race was so supportive that it was a good intro to running. Uh, I'll definitely now I think that I'm on a streak, I don't want to miss a year.
Hey, Chris, before we move away from JFK, unless you had another question, I have a question for you about Samir and JFK. So we didn't know Samir when he ran JFK the first time in 2024. We met him, let's see, what is it, 4 days later, maybe 3 or 4 days later at the Antietam pub run when he just got out of his car, showed up, and said he was invited by a coworker, and we're all walking a little funny. So I'm glad that he came from JFK and didn't just like come from a 5K, and then we're all walking the way that we're walking, and he would come out thinking, what kind of run club is this? Like, all these people can't even walk, let alone run. But he ran, shuffled those miles with us that day. But yeah, I won't forget the first time that we met Samir at the next pub run. That was pretty cool.
There was one guy, the one JFK finisher that I talked to only by messenger, that I was referred to by a coworker, Matt Hardy, that he's a JFK finisher, and he was very open. Any question I had, whether like, hey, what shoes do you think would be cool? Like, how would you approach nutrition? And then he referred me to the pub run, but I didn't went before the race because I think it was like pretty close to the race, and I had other stuff going on. And it wasn't until after the race that when I decided that running was a thing that I wanted to continue to do, I'm like, okay, I want to get involved a little bit with the community.
Yeah, and for our listeners who are wondering, that is the same Matt Hardy who was on the podcast back in February when we did our couples series. He and his wife Jenny were on the podcast with us. So it's good to see how that's come full circle, and we're certainly glad that he recommended you to come to the pub run, because I don't think you've really missed one since then.
Yeah, that's right.
He might have better attendance than I do right now.
Samir, you were earlier talking about how 5Ks, they're just painful and that you do them, but they're not necessarily your favorite. But a couple of months ago, you competed in a very special 5K called the 1000 Schools 5K. Can you tell us a little bit about that race and why it was so important for you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's this fellow ultra runner, which he don't have any, I think, official races finishes, but he's done a lot of challenges, and he puts himself through all these situations to create content and monetize to build 1,000 schools in my home country, Honduras. So he's a Japanese American guy. Yeah, he's a Japanese American guy. He is from, I think, Virginia, the Virginia area, and he went to do some, I believe it was like some church service in Honduras that had to do a little bit with education or health, something along those lines. And when it was time for him to come back, I think the kids were asking him, like, now that you're gone, who's gonna help us? And he couldn't get that off his mind. He found an opportunity to do a second trip, and there was when he started the 1,000 schools fundraiser. Right now, he's built over 100. It's a pretty ambitious goal. I think he's right now, he's like over 40 years old, and he started when he was 22. He had to choose between going to medical school or building 1,000 schools in Honduras or giving it a shot at it. He's done a bunch of cool challenges. Like he ran from one city to another city in Honduras, which was like probably 100K. Then he did 300K. And the last one he did before he had to get like knee surgery was from the border between Mexico, crossing Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, all the way to Honduras, to the town where he lives now, where he's been living for the past, I think, 20 years. And I just happened to come across one of those race ads that you get on Instagram, and I grab a fundraiser bid. The minimum that you had to raise was $100, and I was like, okay, maybe my mom will like throw 10, somebody will throw another 10, and whatever's left, I'll put it out my pocket. Like it'll be cool to go and run along more Hondurans, you know. Then I get first donation $100, second donation 50, then 10 over here, 35 over here, and then I had like $500. Then I raised it to 700, and within one day I had $700, and then I put it up to 1,000. We made it to 1,000. Then it was like $1,400, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna share it on Instagram one more time to see if we can get to 1,500. And I think that the last donation was just enough to get to 1,500. So I think that the last person was like, you know what? I'm gonna donate exactly the amount that he needs so he can chill, you know, or so he can get the goal or get like a nice round number.
Somebody was tired of seeing your Instagram post or something.
Hey, it worked.
No, it was great that you were able to raise that much money for, for that cause that meant a lot to you. And just be able to help out other people is really special I know for you to be able to do. So was was there any I kind of cut you off there. Was there anything else you wanted to say about the race, or do you know how much the race was able to fundraise altogether?
I think that the initial goal was like 10,000, and I think that they exceeded by over 20,000. It was more than 30,000 that they were able to raise because this guy is he's an influencer. Like he is very loved in Honduras. Like people goes crazy. People was going crazy. I picked up my bib and I wanted to take a picture with him. Like I'm a huge fan of him, and I'll probably never come across this guy again. So I'm like, okay, I'll take a picture. And then people just started like getting into like a crowd around him, and I just told everybody, hey, let's be organized, let's line up. And people started handing me cell phones to take pictures for them. Then somebody put a vest on me, and before I knew it, I was volunteering for like an hour and a half taking pictures from other people's phone. So it was fun. Like at the end, I ended up working, but it was worth it. I had a blast.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun and a great experience. So, hey, one of the main reasons we wanted to bring you on today was to talk about your next racing adventure coming up here in, I guess, about 10 days, I think. One thing that I left out of your intro was that you are actually the Honduras national champion for the Backyard Ultra. I hope I said that correctly, but so you can go and look on, I'm not sure, maybe you know the website name, but there's a website you can go and look by nationality of all the people that have run backyards, and you are actually the leader from Honduras. So congratulations to you on that. Actually, you had said it at more miles, last one standing in 2025. And then we didn't know at the time. And when we went to Capitol and you ran 150 miles, you actually broke your own record there. So your race coming up is actually the Honduras Backyard Ultra. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, where the race actually is, and then maybe like some information about the course?
Yeah, the I call it short at more miles this week, which it was a rough decision because Scott was there, and I was like, okay, the whole point why we run backers is to find out how far we can go, and knowing that there's somebody who can go really far is a great opportunity for you to test yourself. But at the same time, like I'm flying to my home country. I had family that's never seen me running before, crewing for me. So I wanted to just save my legs and switch to make the backyard in Honduras the A race. The name of the race is Comayagua's Backyard Ultra. The race takes place in this small town that the name is Comayagua, which used to be the capital of my country, but then they switched it to Tegucigalpa, which is where I'm from, Francisco Morazán, Tegucigalpa. So right after running capital, somebody, one of the running Instagram accounts from Honduras shared what I did and just like, hey, we have this fellow runner running in Virginia. He accomplished this distance, and somebody tagged me and said they should invite him to this race. And I'm like, there's no invitation needed. Like, you tell me when it is, where it is, and if I can make it, I'll I'll sign up for it. Like, it got me pretty excited really quick. Like, so once I signed up for it, I started. There's one thing that I asked beforehand, like, is it an official Backyard Ultra? Is it gonna count towards big rankings? So they told me we're on the talks, we're exchanging emails, and once all that was settled down, they told me that it was already registered on Big's Backyard. So then I proceeded to sign up. The course, the course looks, I don't want to say easy, but compared to more miles or the day loop of Capital, this one only has 150 feet of elevation, which at more miles we have 500 feet of elevation, and most of it you get it in two hills. So I'm pretty excited about that. That the course is gonna be it can set somebody for success if you pace it correctly. Even at Capitol, the night loop, I think it was somewhere along those lines, right, Adam? It was like 100 and some feet of vert. Not quite 150, but it wasn't so steep. Uh, yeah, that's what I've been preparing for, and every run, every run, every work has just been like thinking about that race.
Yeah, so Samir, can you tell us a little bit more about the course? Like you gave us the elevation profile, but is this going to be like trail through the woods or is it grass fields or what do you know about the course?
Well, it starts in like a resort, like a hotel resort. It's called Rancho Sofia, which translates to Sophia's Ranch, and it's like the more miles. There's a lot of grass where we're gonna be setting, but then we go around some farms where they do agriculture and where they raise cattle. So we're gonna be running on dirt road mostly. And this little town is a valley, so you see mountains to your left, you see mountains to your right, and there's a little canal that they made to for the plantations that they have over there. The only thing that had me a little bit worried at the beginning was the temperature and how little shade there is on that course. But thankfully, we got some really challenging days of it here where I was able to test a little bit like hydration and cooling strategies. So that gave me a little bit of confidence to just to think that that's not gonna be the biggest issue. But the course looks beautiful. Like once you go through those fields, you enter into this little town and you go through maybe a neighborhood. So I'm hoping to see people just like sitting like maybe drinking coffee at 4 p.m. and you're just running by, and then they still hanging out over there playing cards at 5, and then you run by again, and then they just like still in front of their house, just and then you see you go back and forth, you know.
Is the course an out and back, or is it a loop, or how is it designed? Do you know?
Oh no, it's a loop.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a loop course, so it's a lot of people. It's 170 people, 170, 175 people. I'm like, that's a huge field, you know, like that's double and a little bit more than the more miles, but it doesn't concern me so much because I think I can be pretty self-sufficient with nutrition and stuff like that, but I just want everybody else to have a good experience. Like,
Have you studied the competition at all?
oh man, that's the only thing that drives me nuts a little bit, because here we go on Ultra Sign Up and we see the scores, we see the previous races, we see what other people have done, and the platform that they're using for registration, it only tells you how many people is in there, but not their names or what they have done. However, you can, like, I tag them on my post on Instagram, and some other runners also do. So I've been like doing the scouting a little bit. I stalk their Strava or see what they have done in the past. And there's a few ultra runners that I'm hoping are gonna take it very far. And there's a lot of people who just wants to use the format to PR on distance. Like there's this guy who wants to do 12 hours. You know, there's a guy who wants to run 100K. There's a lot of people who just wants to go out for a marathon. You know, it's a great format to accomplish those distances because it forces you to pace yourself. So the competition is, as of right now, is unknown. So, but I've been training as if I've been training the same way that I'll train if I ever make it to bigs, you know. Like it's the A race. You train for the A race, and there's only one way to train for your A race.
So Adam, Samir and I were actually talking about this on the trail run tonight. And when we got to this topic, Samir was saying how it was a little bit of an unknown. He was a little nervous about that. And I said, well, you know you can run 150 miles. You did that at Capital. So that gives you 36 hours to run with people and to get to know them. So by that point, you're going to have a pretty good idea of who's in it for the long haul, and it might be down to just a small handful of people by that time. Who knows? So I think he shouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, 36 hours of like actively study time. That should be pretty good for you. I mean, I know you got to worry about like what you're doing for yourself and everything like that too, but I also know how you are during a backyard. You like to get out there and talk to as many people as you can. So I got, faith in you that you'll take care of business as far as getting to know the other racers go.
Yeah, and I was actually saying something like that to Chris, like, hey, maybe if I talk less, I can have a little bit more energy, like later on the race. But I know myself, like once somebody says hi to me, oh man, it's like putting a car on a steep hill and taking the e-brake off. Like I just go for hours and hours, and I don't run out of stuff to talk about.
Hey, Chris, you know what? Hang on before you ask the next question. So, like, one thing I love about like talking to Samir is that like sometimes there's like a language, not like an issue, but like sometimes we'll say something and he'll not understand it. And like just like our words mean different than his words sometimes. And like there's a little bit of a language problem sometimes. But Samir, I got to tell you, I've never heard that analogy before of like putting a car on a hill and releasing the e-brake, but I find that to be true because I could say one word to you
Mhm.
on a run and you'll talk for the next 4 miles. Like I don't have to say
Oh
anything
yeah.
else. So that was I've never heard that analogy before, but that fits perfectly for you.
Yeah, that's the only issue me and our buddy Luke had, that we both like to talk a lot during the runs, and I'm like, man, you're gonna let me talk, or am I just a listener today?
That's good.
Samir, let's talk a little bit about the race. You told us a little bit about what you know about the competition, but let's talk about like how you're going to make this happen, right? Because this is not just throwing stuff in the back of the car and driving out to Manahawkin or, driving even to Northern Virginia for capital. There's going to be a lot of like logistics you've got to take care of to make sure you get all your fuel, get all your gear that you need for this race. How are you going about handling that? Like, this is obviously not something you can just show up at the race and, find once you get to Honduras.
Well, to begin with, I think that the smartest move I made was like my grandfather was visiting, so I sent part of the nutrition with him because gels are qualified as liquids. And when you do the math, you can only take about 15 gels on your carry-on because I'm only taking a carry-on and a backpack. I'm not taking a check-in bag. So I sent maybe about 25 gels with him. And I think I also sent my hydration with him. So we're talking about 15 pounds, 15 to 20 pounds of nutrition for the race over there. Uh, Clothes, that's something that me and Chris were talking about a little bit on the run today. Clothes, I'm taking all my 3-inch or less shorts, like it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot, so we're gonna be showing a lot of leg over there. So I'm not too worried about the clothes because I think that I can fit that on my backpack, but the shoe selection is what I was like a little bit like when I went to Capital, I took all my shoes. When I went to the more miles, I took every pair of shoes. Did I use them all? No, but I just felt good to have them. Like whichever pair of shoes I needed, I can take with me. So I already know I'm taking three, but there's this other. But I'm debating if whether or not I need a trail shoe because it might rain. So I might be able to appreciate a little bit of grip on my shoe. So there's where I'm at right now, just testing things out. Like I never wore a sun hoodie, like when we run in the tow path, if it's a really hot day, we have shade and we take the shirt off, throw it in the ground, pick it up on our way back, so it's never been an issue. Same with the Bagger Ultras we've run. The weather hasn't been so terrible to where, or we are not that exposed to the sun to where we have to worry about covering so much from it. But yeah, like the nutrition is already there. Right now I'm just packing, like every time we do a batch of laundry, I look at a pair of shoes, I look at a shirt. Is it worth taking it? Yes or no? But as far as nutrition and clothes and shoes, I think that I'm almost done with it. Another thing is that the race takes place maybe like an hour and 20 minutes away from where I grew up. So I also have a crew and I'm gonna have a pretty good amount of people helping me, maybe up to 6 or 8. So because of that, we rented an Airbnb like 20 minutes away from the starting line. So that way in the morning when we get up, we don't have to rush. We can uh, still get up early and prepare, and then just wait till it's time to start your watch without knowing when you're gonna stop it.
So, I think if you need to save any space in your luggage, you could probably just wear, 3 or 4 of those pairs of 3-inch shorts to the airport. You'll probably fly right through security and you'll save all that
That's
space
true.
in your carry-on.
That's true. I'll keep that in mind.
So, hey, also keep this in mind. The podcast is going to come out about a week before your race. So, is there any strategy that you have going into the race that you're willing to share with us, knowing that it's going to come out a week before? We don't want anybody over in Honduras to listen and steal your strategy or get an
Whoa, whoa,
advantage.
whoa,
But
whoa, whoa, whoa. We want everybody in Honduras to listen.
no, 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 we do, but we don't want
Yeah.
them to listen and steal his strategy. That's what we don't want. So I don't want him to give away too much, but just give us like a quick, like what have you done in previous backyards that you're gonna, I guess, continue to do? How have you been able to get to 150 miles? And so,
Well, I feel that hydration, I started using Tailwind the year after, maybe on 2025, when I started getting a little bit more like into the long distance, Courtney the Water uses it and she is pretty badass, so that must have worked. That was my thought process to it. And turns out that I can take 2 scoops of that an hour. So that's about like 200 calories. And worst comes to worst, if I need to eat more and I'm having a rough time, I can force myself to eat a gel. But I'll try to alternate like we did at Capital, or like I did at more miles. Even though I cut it short, I still practice fueling. Like I didn't take a gel every time. Sometimes I'll take a cookie or crackers, or I took a Naughty Bodies, them things are like 300 calories, and I'm like, okay, if I'm able to eat it without any GI stress, maybe I can get away on the first couple of hours and then we can switch it up. Ramen noodle soup, that's a game changer. That like at night that sits pretty well in my stomach. And potatoes, like the mashed potatoes that you only add water onto it. That's pretty much the fueling strategy is pretty straightforward, nothing new. Just try to eat the same at least 300 calories per loop at the very least. If it comes down to where my stomach is pretty jacked up and I have to throw 3 scoops of tailwind in 2 bottles, then I think that's just the only thing that I'm willing to do that I haven't experimented yet. But yeah, like as far as nutrition, it's been working, it's been working. When I call it quits at Capital, it wasn't nutrition related, right? It's something else that I have to figure out. So it was probably because we were going on to a second night and I was feeling a little bit of discomfort. But as far as nutrition, I'm keeping to my same strategy. And when it comes down to 36 hours again and I'm going on to a second night, that's gonna be like, okay, like here's where I let myself down last time. So there's where I'm gonna learn more uh, about the backyard, and you learn more just watching other runners do their thing.
Hey,
Yep.
Samir, for the record, when you decided to not continue at Capital, I think Chris and I were shocked because we thought you were done probably about 5 yards before you actually stopped. So don't sell yourself short of that because you looked out of it for about 5 hours before you actually dropped out. So I was seriously impressed for that amount of time, and you just got out of the chair and kept going. So kudos for you for making it that far because it looked to a lot of people like you were done well before you were done.
And there were at least 2 yards where we thought you were gonna go out and just turn around and come back, and you just kept going. And Adam and I just kinda looked at each other. I'm like, "I guess we're here for another hour."
The thing is that the thing is that no matter how the other person looks, it doesn't matter. There was this lady that made it to 48 hours on that race, and I thought she looked rough from hour 20. That's what I thought. Maybe she was going through a rough patch, but she was able to just keep pushing through that rough patch for 28 more hours from the moment I thought that she was looking pretty rough. And in one loop she said something to me like pain is just weakness leaving the body, and I'm like, okay, but I forgot about that pretty quick. So, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna stop, I'm not gonna stop at 130 some miles. Like I'm really close to 150, so for me to run 150 miles I'll have to run all these miles all over again, plus the ones that I can run today to get to 150. So that's something that kept me pushing. But I could have went on another one and finished on time. I feel like it. Like now it's easier to say it because I'm not hurting. But now I do believe it because at the more miles I saw Scott, who's won bigs before, come back with 2 minutes, a little less than 2 minutes, sit right next to the corral, get up and go again to come back in 2 minutes with 2 minutes to spare, and did that a few times and bounced back from it. So maybe that could have been my story if I didn't call it a day when I did over there. So that's just something that I learned just from watching another runners. Like, yeah, everybody goes through it. Like Scott is one of the best on the format in the country, and he goes through it. I've seen it with my own eyes, so I'm gonna go through it too. He's a father, he has a job, he gets his mile when he can. It's like we're not living two different lives. Like we're living like pretty similar lives. We go through the same stuff every day. If he can do it, I might as well give it a shot and just keep coming to the corral. But let's go back to the strategy. That's what we were talking about, right? Yeah, so as far as strategy, I was telling Chris that the only strategy is gonna be easy. Like every yard has to feel easy. If I come back with 45 minutes and that felt easy, I'll force myself to come back with 52 minutes, 55 minutes. The weather, I have not raised the backyard on like 85 to 95-degree weather, which it can be somewhere along those ranges. If if I spend less time at camp because I'm running slower to keep myself cool, I'm okay with it. Like I'm not gonna be set in a number. I just want to keep it as easy as possible, like something that near boring unless I have other things to do in between.
Samir, tell us a little bit about how you've been training for this event. Have you done anything differently from previous backyards? Are you doing more miles, less miles? How's that been
Uh,
going?
Actually, the first time I raised the backyard, it was a pretty dumb training plan. I think I told you guys I'm gonna run 100 miles a week for 6 weeks, and I was running 50 miles a week at the time, and I got away with it. Like I went from 50 to 100 miles a week, and then I taper from it. I experienced for the first time the taper tantrums, like in 2025 before more miles. Uh, that worked pretty good, but I don't think that's something that I can just keep on doing. Like achieving 100 miles in a week takes a lot of time, and takes a lot of time from your family, and it's not sustainable. Your risk to injury is a lot higher, but I think that you can get similar benefits with a different approach. So the for this bagger specific, I started training after more miles. So the week after more miles, I took an easy week to recover. I ran around 35 miles, and I'm kind of like, okay, this week doesn't count. I'm just trying to keep the streak alive. Let's see how many miles I run this week comfortably. I ran 51 miles, and then from there, I just started increasing like 10 to 13 miles a week. And I always had like a long run on Fridays right after work. So, okay, I'm already tired from working. I get up at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, running after work makes it a little bit more challenging because I work on my feet all day. So, I'm already on my feet for 10 hours. Let's go do like a trail run. The first trail run, I think it was like 15, then 18, then 20. And if I needed to do like more miles between the week, but there were other things to do, I will run commute a lot sometimes. I'll run to work at 3 a.m. and then run back home, and that's 7 miles. That uh, miles are miles, you know. It doesn't matter if you do like seven straight or if you do three before and three after work. I think at least that's the way I like to look at it. And the last thing that I did that it was like on my biggest week I ran 15 miles Thursday, then like a 20-mile run on the trail on Friday. Then I woke up early the next day to run another 20 on tire legs, and then I ran 10 on Sunday. So just trying to get myself used to running on tire legs. Uh, and again, I built up from 50 to 100 miles. Uh, it looked like a good idea for me, and based on that, I just did it just because it sounded good on my head, and it looks nice on Strava to see your graph going like up like that. So
Hey, not only do you run, but I know from talking to you, you also go to the gym. So, how important is strength training been as far as adding that in this training cycle?
yeah, this year I made it a goal to at least strength train 2 times a week, prioritizing leg workouts and lower back workouts because at the oh man, when I was training for Capital, I was dealing with like an injury of I think it's called a solium or something like that, like my lower calf. And then I fixed that, and when I fixed that, my IT band started acting up. So I'm like, okay, if I sacrifice some miles and do some strength training, that can make up for it because I'll be able to train more consistently, which we all know it. I knew it from day one running that strength training is important, but running is more fun, you know. Like oftentimes I don't enjoy strength training when it comes down to upper body. I enjoy it more when I do lower body because then I go on a run, after lifting legs, and it just gives you that feeling of running on tired legs. And at the end, that's what most of us are after when we run long distances. That feeling of like the legs are heavy, but it's fun to run with heavy legs. So yeah, I've been doing strength training and I've been doing sauna twice a week and also a little bit of speed work. I did a little bit of speed work at the beginning of the training when I was doing like 50 to like 70 miles. Then after that, I cut it off because I don't want to risk an injury over like a 800-meter repeats on the track when I'm racing, when my racing speed's gonna probably be 12-minute miles or more.
All right. Let's switch it up a little bit and talk about the mental side of this. You mentioned earlier that you've seen it with your own eyes and other people, and that you've experienced it yourself when, you're deep into the race and you're going through it, right? How do you respond? What do you do when you're in it and you're in it deep and you need to get out of that funk?
Well, I get pretty quiet, If you run with me and I'm going through it, I get pretty quiet. Adam has seen it at the final countdown last year. It's last one standing kind of format, but when it was starting to get hard, Adam will talk and I will not respond. And I just try to stay on my own space. At Capitol, I went on the first night, I went through like a mental darkness that I was like I had to work for some of those yards. Like mentally, I was working really hard, but when I look at the clock, I'm like, I'm still coming on 52, 53 minutes. Like my legs are fine. I'm eating. Like there's no reason for me to be feeling like that, but I didn't talk about it. I didn't say a word about how I was feeling because once it comes out my mouth, I'm done. When I said that my quad was hurting at the next day, I knew I was done. So I try to ignore it. And the mental stuff, I just try to ignore it. I try to make things make sense. Like, yes, I'm feeling like this, but I'm still moving. I'm not cutting it short. I'm able to eat. I'm drinking. I'm not puking. My gut feels fine. So there's no reason for me to call it a day right now.
What do you think's harder for you when you get tired physically or when you get tired mentally?
I still don't know which one was the one that got to me, because it takes a lot of energy to think that your quads are hurting, Like if something is going wrong with your body and you don't know how to navigate through it, everything else just feels harder. Like the mental part just takes a toll on it. If you're having a blister, like your mind is also working. If you're not able to eat, you're also using a lot of your mental energy, I think. But I would think that the mental, mainly because after talking to Marty Fox, he has a rule of the 90-minute loop. Like if he's coming with 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds back into the corral, he says that he tells his crew, okay, I'm gonna go out for my 90-minute loop, and chances and a lot of time he comes back with time to do another loop. But he doesn't let himself die in the chair in the corral. He does not turn around mid loop, or like he doesn't walk out a mile and then come back. He still gets the whole loop no matter how long it takes him. So I think that the mental side got to me because I could still do a few more loops on my last backyard that I was competing.
So, Samir, what is a piece of advice you would give to someone thinking about doing their first backyard ultra?
Uh, don't set don't set a distance goal. You know, if you set a distance goal, you sell yourself short for it, or you might get disappointed. Whether you get, if you don't get to that goal, you can get some kind of disappointment. But if you exceed it, you there's a chance that you're gonna fall in love with the format. That just imagine you start an activity on your watch, and you just don't know when it's gonna stop. You know, you just don't know. Like we starting this today, I don't know when I'm gonna be done with it. It's just gonna go on till whenever, you know?
There must be something to that because I think that's pretty much the common theme, right, Adam? When we ask backyard ultra runners, what's that one piece of advice? It's don't set a distance goal. So uh, that must be something that at least I need to hear.
Yeah, and I think that goes for whether or not you're trying to set your PR in distance, if that's only, you know, if it's 12 miles, right? Or if it's 50 miles or 80 or 400 miles, whatever it is. But, it's like when you go on your daily run. If you're going to run a 10-mile run, it starts to get hard at like mile 8, right? But if you're going on an 8-mile run, it starts to get hard at mile 6. So why doesn't a 10-mile run get hard at mile 6, right? It's because it's a mental game. So I think about that all the time. So whether your goal is 12 miles, 20, 60, 100, it's best like not to set that goal because you're putting a limit automatically on when it's supposed to get hard, I think is the message that is that we're hearing a lot, Chris.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
that's a great point.
So, Samir, you have started to make some videos about your training. Where can people start to follow your running journey at? Like, where's the best place for them to see you on social media?
Well, I always put like race recaps, or if I run a race, there's always like a picture with like a small summary on my Instagram. Is Baca Ponce with double E at the end. So BACAPONCEE.
Don't you worry, I'll get that in our show notes.
Yeah, Chris will
Yeah.
take care of that.
And this was like the first time that I share a lot of my training, mainly because the format is new to my country, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna share what I do, and let's see the outcome. And if I have a good outcome out of it, and they get curious and stumble across my account, they can tailor whatever I'm doing to their time or their goals.
Hey, Chris, before we move on to the after party, did you have any other questions for Samir?
No, I just wanted to thank Samir for coming on tonight. This has been just a great conversation, and obviously, Adam, you and I have heard a lot of these stories before, but they're always fun to hear again. And I'm glad, we've talked about Samir and probably half of the episodes we've done on this podcast. So it's great to finally get him on here and let the rest of our listeners get to know him a little bit. So, Samir, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. It's gonna be nice to have this on Spotify when I'm digging deep in August 1st.
Yeah, Samir might have the most shout outs out of anybody on our episodes of Tales on the Towpath. So, Samir, before we let you go, we like to end with the after party. So, I think you're familiar with how this works, but just in case, I have about 8 questions that I'm going to ask you. And what we want to do is just have you answer them with 1 or 2 words. Don't worry about explaining your answers. It's just kind of like a quick fire thing. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Would you rather run with friends or go solo?
Friends,
Road or trail?
trail,
Favorite race distance?
4.1667,
And I think we're going to know the next answer to this one too, but least favorite race distance.
5K, or the 10K, because 10K is like 5K times two.
Perfect. Coffee before a run, yes or no?
Always.
What is harder for you, the first mile or the last mile?
The first one, absolutely.
Treadmill, love it or hate it?
Don't hate it, don't love it.
Racing a marathon, you go out conservative or do you just go full send?
Conservative.
All right, last question I got for you. Who is more fun to run with, Adam or Chris? I'm just,
Oh man, why you gotta put me on the spot
I'm
like
not
that?
mad. You don't have to answer it. I'm giving you a hard time. Hey, so Samir, hey, I'm gonna echo what Chris said. Thank you so much for spending your Tuesday night with us. I know it's you got family time and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you taking this hour or so to talk to us, and hopefully, you run super well in Honduras, and hopefully you have the chance to go far enough. I'm personally hoping you go far enough to break your own Honduras record again, and that you're able to come out on top. But whether that happens or not, I know you're going to give your very best there, and I cannot wait to follow along and see how you do.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Like they're not gonna have a live tracking, but I'll make sure I'm posting stuff on my story to keep you guys updated.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's going to be fun. And just to end with, the race does start on August 1st. Is that correct?
Correct. It starts
Yeah.
on August 1st at 7 a.m. I don't know about Easter Central Time. I don't understand that quite well, but it's like 5 a.m. over here.
Okay. And it'll end like August 7th or something? Is that the plan?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's up to the other guy.
Oh, well, good stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah,
hey,
and just so you guys know, like every Badger Ultra that I sign up for, like I want to win every single one of them, whether it happens or not. Maybe I'm not ready for it, but that's the intention, Like if I'm running, like who doesn't want to win? And if you don't believe in yourself on that type of format, then it might not be your favorite one, you know. So if you just gotta just believe in yourself a little bit, and one day it might happen, you know.
I think those are perfect words to end on. So, thank you very much, Samir. And this was a blast. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for letting me talk a lot.
That's all for today's episode of Tales on the Towpath. Thanks for joining us on another run down memory lane and along the C&O. If you've enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep your pace steady and your stories flowing.